The quiet ones rule the world. They just don't tell you. While the loud demand attention, the flashy seek headlines, and the boastful broadcast their every move, the true architects of reality work in silence, shaping the world through depth rather than volume, influence rather than performance, and substance rather than spectacle. I have observed this pattern across every domain of human achievement. The most transformative leaders, revolutionary thinkers, and powerful innovators are often those who speak least, perform least, and seek recognition least. They understand that real power operates through competence rather than charisma, through systems rather than speeches, through results rather than rhetoric. Abraham Lincoln described himself as rather inclined to silence, yet his quiet contemplation produced decisions that shaped a nation. Gandhi's soft-spoken philosophy of non-violent resistance toppled an empire. Einstein valued the monotony and solitude of a quiet life that stimulated the creative mind capable of revolutionizing our understanding of reality itself. These individuals demonstrate a fundamental truth that our extroverted culture systematically ignores. The most profound influence emerges from internal depth rather than external performance, from thinking deeply rather than speaking quickly, from building carefully rather than promoting loudly. Today I reveal why the quiet ones possess advantages that the noisy never recognize, how silence becomes a source of strength that speech cannot match, and why the future belongs to those who master the art of influential invisibility. Quiet individuals possess a fundamental cognitive advantage that manifests in superior decision-making, strategic thinking, and creative problem-solving capabilities. While extroverts process information externally through conversation and immediate expression, introverts process information internally through reflection and deep analysis, leading to more thoroughly considered outputs and better long-term outcomes. Research reveals that introverted leaders often outperform extroverted ones in complex environments, requiring careful analysis and strategic thinking. They are less likely to make impulsive decisions, more likely to consider multiple perspectives before acting, and better at identifying patterns and connections that escape more reactive personalities. This processing advantage manifests in several key areas. First, quiet individuals tend to be exceptional listeners who gather more complete information before forming judgments. While others are preparing their next comment, quiet people are absorbing nuance, subtext, and implications that provide superior understanding of situations and relationships. Second, their natural tendency toward reflection allows them to learn more deeply from experience. They spend time analyzing what worked, what didn't, and why, building sophisticated mental models that inform future decision-making. This creates compound advantages where each experience contributes to increasingly refined judgment and strategic capability. Third, their comfort with solitude provides access to the kind of uninterrupted thinking time that breakthrough insights require. While extroverts need social stimulation and struggle with prolonged solitude, introverts can engage in the sustained contemplation that produces original ideas and innovative solutions to complex problems. The combination of superior listening, deeper learning, and sustained thinking creates what might be called wisdom accumulation that builds over time into extraordinary competence and judgment. While loud personalities may dominate conversations, quiet ones often dominate outcomes through the superior quality of their contributions. When they do choose to engage, quiet individuals understand that silence is not the absence of communication, but the most sophisticated form of it, a tool that can gather intelligence, create psychological pressure, command respect, and influence outcomes more effectively than any amount of verbal persuasion or dramatic presentation. Strategic silence operates through several psychological mechanisms that give quiet people significant advantages in negotiations, relationships, and leadership situations. When you remain quiet while others talk, you naturally become the recipient of information, admissions, and insights that speakers reveal while trying to fill uncomfortable silence. This intelligence gathering provides enormous strategic advantages, Silence also creates what psychologists call psychological pressure, that often causes others to make concessions, reveal their true positions, or agree to terms they might have resisted if faced with direct argumentation. The discomfort that most people feel with silence makes them eager to resolve it, often through accommodation, rather than continued negotiation. Perhaps most powerfully, selective speech makes your words carry exponentially more weight when you do choose to use them. People who speak constantly dilute the impact of their communication, while those who speak rarely command attention and respect when they do contribute to conversations. Your words become valuable because they are rare. Quiet leaders also benefit from what might be called gravitas accumulation. Their restraint communicates confidence, self-control, and depth that more talkative personalities often lack. Others assume that quiet people must have good reasons for their silence and profound thoughts behind their eventual contributions. This strategic use of silence extends to written communication, where quiet individuals often excel at crafting thoughtful, precise messages that accomplish more with fewer words than the verbose communications that dominate most professional environments. Their respect for language and careful word choice reflects and reinforces their reputation for depth and competence. While extroverted personalities focus on performance, presentation, and public recognition, quiet individuals typically invest their energy in building the systems, relationships, and competencies that create lasting influence and sustainable success. This systems focus produces compound advantages that ultimately dwarf the temporary benefits of personal promotion and public performance. Quiet achievers like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg demonstrate how focusing on substance rather than style can produce extraordinary results. They built systems, investment frameworks, software platforms, social networks that continue generating influence and value long after any speech or presentation would be forgotten. Their power comes from what they built, rather than how they performed. This systems approach extends to relationship building, where quiet individuals often develop deeper, more trusting connections through consistent reliability and genuine interest in others, rather than through charismatic performance or social networking. These authentic relationships provide sustainable influence that performance-based connections cannot match. In professional environments, quiet individuals frequently become the go-to experts, whose competence makes them indispensable, despite, or perhaps because of their lack of self-promotion. They let their work speak for itself while building reputations based on results rather than rhetoric, creating career advantages that compound over time. The system's focus also applies to knowledge and skill development. While others are networking and promoting themselves, quiet individuals are often reading, learning, and developing expertise that provides genuine competitive advantages. They invest in becoming legitimately valuable, rather than merely appearing valuable. This approach requires patience and long-term thinking that many personalities cannot maintain, but produces sustainable success that doesn't depend on continued performance or public validation. The systems and competencies they build become self-reinforcing, creating influence that grows over time, rather than requiring constant maintenance. The most powerful influence networks are often invisible to public view, operating through quiet individuals who prefer to work behind the scenes, shape outcomes indirectly, and exercise power through competence rather than position or publicity. These networks achieve results that more visible power structures cannot accomplish precisely because they operate below the radar of public attention and political interference. Quiet influencers understand that the most sustainable power comes from being essential rather than visible. They become the advisors, the experts, the problem solvers that decision makers depend on for guidance and solutions. This creates influence that is both more durable and more effective than positional authority or public recognition. Consider the impact of researchers, engineers, and analysts who develop the ideas, technologies, and frameworks that leaders then implement and promote. The quiet creators of these innovations often have more lasting influence than the famous figures who become associated with them in public perception. Financial markets provide another example, where quiet analysts and traders often move billions of dollars and influence major economic trends. Without any public recognition, their decisions shape reality for millions of people, while remaining completely anonymous to those affected by their work. Academic and research institutions demonstrate how quiet scholarship can reshape entire fields of knowledge and influence policy decisions across decades. The professors, researchers, and theorists who develop new understanding often have more lasting impact than the politicians and executives who implement their ideas. Even in business, the most successful companies are often built by quiet founders who focus on product development, operations, and customer satisfaction, rather than media attention and public relations. Their influence grows through competence, rather than publicity, creating sustainable success that outlasts more visible competitors. As our world becomes increasingly complex and interconnected, the advantages that quiet individuals possess, deep thinking, sustained focus, systems perspective, and authentic expertise, become more valuable, while the surface-level skills that extroverted personalities rely on become increasingly commoditized and replaceable. The rise of artificial intelligence and automation threatens jobs that involve routine social interaction and surface-level communication, while creating increasing demand for the kind of deep analytical work, creative problem-solving, and strategic thinking that quiet individuals naturally excel at performing. Remote work and digital communication favor those who can produce high-quality output independently, rather than those who rely on face-to-face charisma and social dynamics for their effectiveness. The future workplace rewards depth over breadth, quality over quantity, and substance over performance in ways that align with introverted strengths. Complex global challenges, climate change, technological disruption, social inequality, require the kind of sustained interdisciplinary thinking that emerges from quiet contemplation rather than quick conversation. The solutions to these problems will likely come from individuals who can think deeply rather than speak quickly. Information abundance makes the ability to process, synthesize, and extract meaning from vast amounts of data more valuable than the ability to generate more information. Quiet individuals' natural tendency toward careful analysis rather than rapid response becomes increasingly advantageous in information-rich environments. The most valuable career skills, programming, data analysis, scientific research, strategic planning, creative work, all benefit from the sustained focus and deep processing that quiet individuals naturally provide. As these skills become more central to economic success, quiet personalities will find themselves increasingly in demand. The path I walked revealed that the most significant transformations occur not through dramatic announcements or public campaigns, but through the quiet accumulation of competence, the patient building of systems, and the gradual influence of those who prefer substance to spectacle, depth to performance, and results to recognition. I learned that while the world pays attention to the loud, it is ultimately shaped by the quiet. The researchers who develop breakthrough technologies, the analysts who identify crucial patterns, the builders who create lasting infrastructure, and the thinkers who solve problems others didn't even recognize existed. The quiet ones rule the world, not through domination but through indispensability, not through force, but through competence, not through performance, but through results that speak louder than any words could. Their influence is invisible precisely because it has become fundamental to how reality operates. Your modern world creates unprecedented opportunities for quiet influence through technology that amplifies individual capability, remote work that values output over presence, and global connectivity that rewards expertise, regardless of its source. The same digital tools that enable extroverted performance also enable introverted production and influence. The future belongs to those who can think deeply in a world of surface-level interaction, who can focus sustainably in an era of constant distraction, who can build systems while others build images, and who can solve problems while others perform solutions they don't actually possess. Begin leveraging your quiet advantages by recognizing them as strengths rather than limitations. Your tendency to listen rather than speak gives you access to information others miss. Your preference for thinking before acting leads to better decisions. Your comfort with solitude provides the mental space where breakthrough insights emerge. Develop your natural tendency toward deep work by creating environments and routines that maximize sustained focus. Build expertise systematically rather than seeking immediate recognition. Focus on creating value rather than promoting yourself, knowing that genuine competence ultimately creates its own recognition and influence. Most importantly, understand that the world needs what quiet people provide: the careful thinking, sustained focus, and deep analysis that solve complex problems and create lasting solutions. Your contribution may not be visible to casual observers, but it shapes reality in ways that performance never could. The quiet ones rule the world because they understand what the loud ones miss. That real power comes from competence rather than charisma. That lasting influence emerges from depth rather than volume. And that the most important work happens in the spaces between the noise where genuine thinking can occur. They don't tell you this because they don't need to tell you. Their work speaks for itself. Their results demonstrate their value, and their influence shapes your daily experience, whether you recognize their contribution or not. The quiet revolution continues, led by those who prefer building the future to announcing it. Your silence is not weakness, it is strategic advantage. Your preference for depth over breadth is not limitation. It is specialization that creates irreplaceable value. Your tendency to work behind the scenes is not hiding. It is positioning for maximum impact with minimum interference. The quiet ones rule the world. Perhaps it's time you joined them.